Hi everyone, I'm Rob, and welcome to the Geek Show's new series called Alternatives to, where we explore a few alternatives to some of the big releases. Coming up very soon is another addition to the massive multimedia franchise that is Sword Art Online, called Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris. Now, obviously, I'm going to end up calling that Alicization Lycoris at some point during this video. It's the latest addition to the Sword Art Online video game series, and it's developed by Aquaria, and it's coming out very soon in July on the PS4, Xbox One, and the PC. Now, looking at this game and having played some of the previous iterations of Sword Art Online, I think my favourite was Hollow Realization, which actually did feel more like an MMO video game type thing. There were a few avenues I could look at for alternatives to that. The first one I want to bring up is Star Ocean Till the End of Time on the PlayStation 2. Now, anyone who's not played this Star Ocean game, this particular Star Ocean game, is probably not familiar with the twist. So there is a spoiler in this, so you have been warned. But anyway, Star Ocean Till the End of Time is, I would say, one of the better Star Ocean games. It was developed by Trias and published by Square Enix, and it's an unusual game because it is a science fantasy game rather than just a pure sci-fi game. But midway through the game, there is a massive twist. It turns out that, and this is the spoiler, it turns out that your characters, the characters that you are playing, and the monsters that you're fighting against, you are all part of a video game. So you are actually NPCs in a video game that another race is watching. And that becomes this massive existential plot point, questioning the whole aspect of who's real, who's not, who's alive, who's not, that sort of thing. But we won't go into that. Star Ocean Till the End of Time is a great RPG. It's a great JRPG. And if you haven't played it, then give it a try. It really is a lot of fun, and it does have an interesting storyline. Moving on, this is a lot of people out there who are familiar with Sword Art Online and familiar with anime. Well, there are some obvious choices to go with if you're talking about the video game side of Sword Art Online. And obviously, I couldn't really miss it out. It's .hack. It's got to be .hack. .hack, the video games they were meta before meta was a thing. They were so very different, and Sword Art Online would not be as popular in any way, shape, or form if it wasn't for the granddaddy of stuck in a video game titles. .hack was one of the multimedia franchises of its age, coming out long before Sword Art Online, being, having all of the aspects of Sword Art Online and then some, having characters stuck in this game called the world, which is under attack from various other things, which you will discover as you go along. The .hack anime series, for example, is very different to Sword Art Online. It doesn't pander to a particular subset of the anime community. It developed more of a mystery and had very little in the way of actual action. Most of the storytelling was done through the characters, the events, that sort of thing, and the unfolding of the plot, which I actually like. It's more of a thinking man's trapped in a video game series, a lot like Log Horizon. But we're not talking about the anime, we're talking about the video game. And in the video game, you basically play as the main protagonist called Kite. He's a new player of the world whose friend Orca becomes comatose under mysterious circumstances, and Kite is joined by nearly 20 other players as he tries to discover what caused his friend to fall into a coma. And as you play through the games, you basically discover more and more of what's going on. Now, all of this was part of Project .hack, and there were 4 original games on the PlayStation 2. If I remember rightly, there were .hack Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine, if I remember the order correctly. And then you had another .hack game for .hack GU called Last Record, which is actually a lot of fun as well. But that's set after the time of Kite in the video game of the world. And that's actually an interesting game to explore as well. So you have options there. Hack was one of the first video games where it told a story a single story over the course of 4 games. And in many respects, it's similar to The Legend of Heroes, the franchise that tells an overarching story over a series of games. Some of them might not seem connected, but they all tell the story of this group of countries. So anyway, moving on to the final one, but with a special mention by way of Wizardry Online. Now, Wizardry Online was one of those really interesting, really fascinating MMO RPGs that came out. I think it was out in 2013, somewhere like that. And Wizardry Online was very close to what Sword Art Online was as a video game thing, as the way it was portrayed as a video game. You had five races, and you had like 4 classes, and each class was dependent on what attribute points you gave to particular stats, and you basically started off with randomized stats, that sort of thing. One of the big aspects of it was that everywhere could be a PvP zone, player versus player, and you had permadeath. And I think that was where it kind of veered off from the usual MMORPGs. But that's not my third choice, because Wizardry Online, sadly, you can't really play it now. The servers got shut down in 2014 because it just didn't have the uptake, because for whatever reason, probably because Sony didn't really understand the game. But there is hope for Wizardry Online fans, because there are a group of people trying to make a private server with open source code and stuff like that, and trying to bring Wizardry Online back, and more power to them, because it was a lot of fun, that game. The game I am going to choose, which as my alternative to Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris, is Archage, which is it's another MMORPG by a Korean developer called Jake Song, who was the former developer of Lineage, and it's done by his company XL Games. Now, this was originally released in Korea in 2013, and it's had a European and North American release in 2014. And it's described as it's not really a sandbox type MMORPG. It has more of a structured experience, so it's a little bit similar to say Final Fantasy XIV or Elder Scrolls Online, in that there are a lot of things that you can do, but within a structure. So you had your usual combat, you had your PvE and your PvP, but you could also go crafting, you could have housing, you could go farming, which is an unusual thing. You had mounts and pets, you had questing, you had skills, but where things differed and where it kind of went a little bit more along the EVE Online route was in the criminal justice. You actually could have player courts. So if somebody was, say, a serial player killer, you could basically haul them up. You could capture them and and actually have them tried for whatever crimes they've committed within the game. You could form trade routes between different guilds, different cities, that sort of thing. And this was an interesting structured approach that was fascinating to see within a video game, especially in an MMO that wasn't called EVE Online. So yeah, for all you fans of Sword Art Online who are going to be playing Alicization Lycoris, I know it's called Lycoris. I told you I was going to be calling it Lycoris. It's a stupid name. For all you fans of Sword Art Online, anyway, got some options there. I would recommend playing Star Ocean Till the End of Time if you've never played it before. I would equally, and more importantly, I would absolutely, if you're a fan of the anime series, go and watch dot.hack, the anime series, the original one, dot.hack sign, and play the original 4 video games on the PS2. You'll find that they're really interesting games. If you can get a chance to play Archage, give it a try. If the Wizardry private server comes back online, or ever gets online, I should say, then give that a try as well. So there's other options. You don't just have to settle for Sword Art Online. Anyway, that's been me, Rob. Those are your alternatives to Sword Art Online Alicization Lycoris. We'll see you all on the next video.